Today's video is very short and precise. I was going through the internet and, as usual, I stumbled upon something that amazed me. The story of Africa. Sometimes how us as Africans make desperate moves and desperate decisions just to try and prove a point. I am all pro-African. I'm all pan-Africanist at heart. But sometimes some of the ideologies in the Pan Africanism are a bit ridiculous and are not based on facts, do not make sense. The story I want to talk about today is about Namibia, right? The issue of visa exemptions. This is purely my opinion, just my mind. I'm just spitting out my mind here on the platform. It's great to share ideas and opinions. So the idea behind, from my understanding, is that Europeans are not reciprocating or giving the same favor back. When Africans say we don't put visas in place for you guys to come to Africa, you don't need visas. You can just visit and come and enjoy the beauty of Africa. But on the other hand, on their side, they need us to have visas. They need us to apply visas. Yeah, different sides to this story. Um, there is obviously tourism involved, and there are other people who are pro-Africanist who say, "Go Namibia. This is the right decision. Step in the right direction." To say, we're not gonna sit here and act like we're beggars. We're begging you guys. We do you a favor, and you don't return it back, as if we're begging you to come to Africa. That's a valid argument in some sense. I respect that, but of course, in reality, I think it is actually true that we need them to come because our economies are also very heavily reliant on tourism, especially with a small country like Namibia. They might suffer a little bit of a loss if the number of tourists visiting their country reduces, because look, it's not that because people Europeans will sit there and be like, no, I don't want to go to Namibia because I don't want to apply for a visa, or the visa is gonna be expensive. But you're just adding up another delay. It's something that potentially can can take someone's time and delay their travels, which will result in a few people deciding to do otherwise. On the other side of this is issue of visa application fees, which some people claim that Europeans are using it as a business to get application fees from Africans who are trying to go to their countries. I don't know how much it is. I don't know how significant it is on their gross domestic product, that they would care so much that Africans must pay visa application fees. But anyway, that argument could be valid as well, and also uh, saying if Africans also have the same structures in place, they could also potentially make a little bit of money from this. But the question remains: is it significant enough compared to the potential loss of tourism to the region, or to the specific countries who choose to go that route? Because look, like we're saying, we're trying to flex a muscle that we don't have. We're trying to show off that we are also powerful and significant, but in actual fact, we're trying to show off muscles that we don't have, which will result in us embarrassing ourselves. You know always how it happens. If you try and act like you are a Goliath when you're actually not, at the end of the day, you're the one who's gonna be embarrassed, because you're the one who's gonna shoot yourself in the foot, or you're the one who's gonna suffer in as a result. It is unfortunate, but if you look at the majority of the population in Africa, uh, in this case, we're talking of Namibia, 3 million people, in total. I guess I would say probably 99% of the population do not even afford to go on vacation to Europe. But in Europe, the average person can afford to come to Africa for a vacation and spend their money and even be of benefit to the African economy. Uh, so for this friction does not impact Europe at all. They don't lose much, but we stand to lose a lot from this. Of all these points, some of them actually valid, but I see the biggest point not being mentioned here, which is immigration. I'm sure Europe uses visas and as their way of controlling immigration from different countries, especially African countries or poor countries like Africa, because it is a fact that people are flocking Europe today. They cannot handle their own immigration issues, refugees, and the rest of it, of Africans trying to get into Europe. People are doing whatever it takes to go to Europe. I don't understand how this conversation can be valid all of a sudden if Europe reciprocates and says, okay, fine, you don't need a visa to come to, because the main conversation seems to be Europe is not reciprocating. They're not reciprocating because it's impossible. That is the only fact. Because it is impossible for them to reciprocate and say, Africans are welcome. You can come whenever you feel like coming. You just need a plane ticket and then you can get into Europe. That's impossible. Millions and millions of Africans will flock Europe. Europeans are not trying to migrate to Africa or try to come and live in Africa, but Africans are. It is a fact of life. I was listening to Francis Ngannou's story. The greatest, one of the greatest MMA fighters coming from Africa. Amazing story because he made it. But the story says for 6 months or 7 months, whatever, he was trying to get into France from Cameroon. 6 months, and he was deported 7 times. He kept on coming back. It simply means people are willing to die to get to Europe. So for Namibia to say they must exempt visas for Africa, it's ridiculous. It makes no sense. There is no such situation where Europeans are trying to come to Africa. They come to visit and go. But Africans are dying. The whole country of Namibia, 99% of Namibians are probably would love to go live in Europe. They all migrate and leave Namibia and go to Europe. Of course, not that's not the truth, but just saying in the magnitude of the case. So for us to argue and say Africa, the rest of Africa should follow the same because Europeans are not reciprocating, giving us visa exemptions, it doesn't make sense. It's a stupid argument. I think it's a stupid argument. It's a dumb idea because immigration will be impossible to handle on their side. It cannot be done. It's undoable. I don't know how we are imagining this.